The Close Weekly podcast gives you the most actionable real estate advice you can use today. And in Season 2, we're focusing on how you can succeed in 2022's low inventory market. Now, here's your host, the man who has been a top producing agent for over 25 years, Sean Modry.
Welcome back, everybody. Today's guest is Bondilyn Jolly. She's helped many real estate brokerages build out their technology suite, and she's also a part of our season sponsor, Elevate by Elm Street Technology. Elevate is more than a CRM. With social media posts, IDX website, and easy-to-use lead generation, Elevate provides everything you need to capture and convert more leads. Elevate even offers a time-saving CMA wizard, which allows you to create and share CMAs in just minutes. Are you interested in trying out Elevate yourself? Then check out tryelevate.com. That's tryelevate.com and schedule your free demo today. Now get ready, because we're going to learn a lot from Bondilyn. It's Sean Modry, and we're back for another wonderful podcast. And today it's really exciting because we have our season sponsor with us, and it is Elm Street. And we're going to actually talk to Bondilyn Jolly, who is in charge of the marketing side of Elm Street. She's going to take some time today and explain to us all the things and all the features that Elm Street does. Good morning, Bondilyn. How are you?
Hey, I'm fantastic, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so, Bondilyn, you and I were talking offline a little bit about your background, and you have an extensive background in real estate. You want to share with us for a little bit about, who you are and how'd you end up in the real estate software industry?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? Because I started as a classical musician and then somehow got into developing software and then ended up developing software for the real estate sector. So that's kind of an interesting path that I would have never imagined.
Yeah, I don't know how those two go together.
I don't know. It's somehow like being a musician and being a creative, like that really translated into the business side for me. The ability to really multitask and step back and look at like the big picture and how all the parts and pieces come together. So I think that's how that happened. But I developed a marketing automation platform. I started it, probably a good 12, 15 years ago, and was really focused. I thought I was going to compete with like the MailChimps and the Constant Contacts of the world in the SMB space. And then I had this opportunity to do a beta test for some franchise initiatives with Remax, actually.
Okay.
And that was really what sucked me into the real estate story, was starting to work with that organization and developing campaigns for their national franchise initiatives. And that was probably a good 10, 11 years ago. And I haven't looked back.
Wow. Awesome. And so since then, you've worked with multiple brokerages, as well as teams, right? And agents directly on helping them with kind of some of their challenges that they're facing, right?
Yeah. So, so my story sort of transitions into Elm Street when about 3.5 years ago, when Elm Street was looking to acquire an email marketing automation platform to plug into their Elevate software, right? Their Elevate CRM. And so I joined the Elm Street story, and inside of Elm Street, we have tens of thousands of users across our ecosystem, brokerages, agents, teams, that, rely on us to help automate and streamline and consolidate, their day to day. And so I think I've played inside of every business model. I've seen every challenge that, agents, brokers, and teams can throw at us. And I've seen it all.
Yeah, I think technology for a lot of us real estate agents, and I don't think it really matters how old you are. I think there's frustration in technology no matter what. And there's so many different pieces that you need to operate a business, especially a high level business or a brokerage. And they don't talk to each other. They don't intersect. they're clunky. Maybe they're good software and we don't know how to use them or how to optimize them, right?
That's why software and technology gets such a bad rap in this space, right? And real estate professionals, by default, they're salespeople. They're people. They love to be out, interacting with their community and servicing their community. And so what makes them inherently great salespeople doesn't necessarily make them those super, tech heads, right? And I just truly feel that, as a software company like Elm Street, if we're doing our job correctly, we're really helping take some of the heavy lifting off of the day-to-day for our clients. And if we're effectively doing that and streamlining their processes, automating those manual processes and freeing up valuable time for that professional, they're going to sing our praises. They're not going to curse us the way that, many software companies out there do. And so one of our goals at Elm Street is really we want everybody to love us. We want to be seen as a partner and not a vendor, because I think those partners are really the companies that come in and say, where are your challenges? Where are your needs? Where do you need transparency into your day-to-day of your business? And, and how can we come in and create really intelligent and meaningful workflows through your technology that are going to help you accomplish your goals more easily, more effectively, and give you that more, that valuable time that you need, whether it's to spend out in nurturing your community or just that valuable time you need to spend with your family. Because real estate professionals, it's a 24/7 job, and it's very thankless, Sean. You know that you've been in the space a long time.
Yeah. My first managing broker said, I work half days now. I've been doing this 20 years. I work half days. When I was new, like you, I worked full days. He says, half days are 12 hours. Full days are 24 hours.
Well, yeah, you're a salesperson, right? And I mean, you want to answer that phone, you want to answer that email, you want to be as responsive as possible, particularly now, Sean, you and I were talking offline a little bit, just look at this, we have been in this low inventory market for several years now with, no end in sight. And I was connecting with the T360 group, earlier this month. And, they just did this study. There's 1.4 realtor designations in the United States, another million non-realtor designations. So we've got 2.4 million active agents in the United States. And I think in January across the United States, I think it was something like 279,000 listings in total. Those numbers are so upside down, Sean. And I feel for the new agents that are coming in that are trying to build their pipelines and build their brand and build their business in this just insanely upside down competitive market right now.
Well, and I think the other thing that's impacting is, 10 years ago, we didn't have publicly traded companies or, hedge funds that are entering the space to compete directly with the agent either, right? We didn't have the Orchards, the Open Doors, the Zillows, the Redfins that are, stepping in as agents, right? And operating in that agent space, so it's much more challenging now to be competitive as an individual agent.
Right. It really is. And, so one of the things that we're really trying to do at Elm Street is, solve for some of these fundamental challenges, that real estate professionals are dealing with. How do you build your brand? How do you maintain relevancy? How do you be present across all of the different marketing, and communication channels that are out there nowadays? How do you have meaningful conversations? How do you capture leads and listings? And, and that's where technology comes in, but it's not a this or that kind of, approach. We're really taking our clients and saying, hey, we need to go back to basics. We need to step back and make sure that we have the basic fundamentals of what you need to do, for your business, and then build on top of that. And, it's a really tough market out there right now. I don't envy anyone.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into that deeper, because I think, we kind of spoke around it, but we didn't get into the challenges, right? So, let's take a real estate agent that, when I interview agents, in my coaching intake, I always say, what do we want to achieve? And they always answer kind of one of two ways. They either say, I want to do 2 deals a month consistently, or I want to do 3 deals a month consistently. That's kind of the thing. And if you do the math, depending on the market, it pencils out somewhere between 150 and $200,000 in gross commission income. Their take-home income well over 100,000, and that's like what a lot of agents say that they want. But the challenge to achieve something like that, 24 to 36 transactions a year consistently, is difficult, because just the marketing alone, you have to maintain a marketing brand, and then you have to maintain your consistency with that marketing brand. And that's your outbound marketing, not counting, your internal marketing with, your SOI, your friends and family and those kind of things. And that's extremely challenging. How does Elm Street help with that?
Yeah, well, agents have to wear a lot of hats, right? And I mean, you just pointed some of that out. And I really feel like we really want to help our clients be very proactive. I see a lot of reactionary behaviors, and marketing and building your pipeline and investing in lead generation and marketing is a 12-month, 24/7 initiative.
Mm-hmm.
And I see a lot of agents that'll make that mistake of, they'll sort of build up a pipeline, and then they'll, work that, and then they'll step back from their marketing, and then all of a sudden their pipeline dries up, right? And then they're being reactive, and I'm like, no. Let's that's where I say, let's do this needs analysis. Let's understand what you need as a baseline to just to fundamentally, run and manage your business and keep that pipeline full.
Yeah.
And so what we do with Elm Street, like whenever a client comes to us or prospect comes to us, and, we'll do this needs or this gap analysis with them. What does your day-to-day look like? How are you spending your day? If you're working a 12-hour day, right? Those half days, Sean, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? How much time are you spending interacting with emails? How much time are you spending going out and touching people across all of your different social channels? How much time are you spending, putting together CMAs, right? And, whatever the case is. And so we really look at what they're doing, and then we say, okay, now if we could automate this, because we can connect the dots between your MLS, your website, your social media, CMAs, everything. If we can connect all those dots and automate that set of processes for you every single day, that's going to free up, an hour, 2 hours of your time. What can you do with that additional free time every single day, knowing that some of these basics are being automatically taken care of for you in a thoughtful and meaningful way? And now we've just freed you up 2 hours. What are you going to do with that time? And that's a really powerful question, Sean. And I can see your brain churning there, right? Because you're like, oh my God, if I had an extra 2 hours in the day, what could I accomplish?
I
right?
was thinking I'd get to spend some time with my wife.
Exactly. And that's what I said. It's like not always about giving you more business time. Sometimes it's just like, if I had 2 hours, I could commit to that, morning workout and meditation, or I can commit to dinner with my family more frequently. Right. And so I think, that's really what technology is there to solve for. It should help you streamline, automate, and consolidate, daily activities to free up valuable time. And if technology is doing that, then it's very, very valuable. Very valuable.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we were always sold on, right? With technology is, hey, when we have computers, we're going to be able to work less because we can work from home. But the reality is we end up working more, right?
Well, yeah. And then there's the issue, right? Because people can reach you constantly, it's like, and you feel this obligation as a real estate professional to be responsive. So anytime that phone rings, day or night, anytime that email pings into your inbox, or, that text message beeps, you want to be responsive. And you need to be responsive, but that's where I really like to see you utilizing technology to be responsive for you. And then help, we like to help our clients create, time blocks too, right? Yep. Like what does your day look like? And, when are you going to be responsive, to sit down and touch those people via email, or make those phone calls that you need to from that, that manual personal standpoint. But how can we automate, the other pieces of outreach that don't require that personal one-to-one touch at that moment? And so that's something that we're constantly solving for. And it's unique. We see our clients, we see our brokers, our agents come to us with a lot of the same needs and challenges, but the way that we develop their workflows and help them is a little unique to every single person that we work with.
So is it literally customized to each agent?
So that's a good question. There's plug and play type workflows, right? We've put best practices into place. So say like if you're investing in lead gen and you're bringing in, buyer and seller leads, for example, we have intelligent workflows that we can plug those leads into that will automatically run, over 24 hours, a week, a month, 60, 90 days and onward, wherever that lead lives in that buyer or seller continuum, we have touch points for them, right? But that being said, we want to personalize that. We want it to be really meaningful and personalized to speak to our client, that broker or agent, and to that person that they're engaging with. And so I think that, good technology has a really strong foundation in place, but then it allows that flexibility or that customization for, our consulting and our coaching teams to go in and really help people create very thoughtful and relevant workflows that are meaningful to them and their needs.
I'm so glad you say that, because that, I think, is the frustration that we all face when we, as a customer, right, as a consumer or as an agent, we get these CRMs, and there's a lot of great CRMs out there that have automation workflows or email follow-ups, but you start sending them out and then you get a response from somebody who's like, hey, I've known you for 20 years. Why are you sending me this? Right. Or I just talked to you on Sunday. Why are you sending me this? And as a customer, as soon as you feel like, okay, I'm in a line, right? I'm in a queue, right? That feeling of being in a queue is horrible. So that customization side of it and taking the time and consulting somebody on how to, even if it's not done for you, how do you make this so it's you? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sean, it's funny because automation, right? The word automation, it gets a bad rap for exactly what you just said, right? Because it's like, I had an interaction with you and then 2 days later, I'm receiving an email that has absolutely no relevancy to where I am in my communication cycle with you. And that goes back to that lack of transparency, right? Because a lot of agents, they might have a CRM, but in that they're also engaging with people, maybe in their Gmail and, on their social channels. And if all of that data and all of those conversations aren't connected and consolidated into one view for them, it can be very easy, right, to sort of lose where people are in the communication cycle or lose where they are in that buyer and seller continuum. And so that's a challenge we're constantly trying to solve for and help, evolve personally as a company to be the best at creating really meaningful, thoughtful workflows and being able to coach and train our customers. And honestly, technology is only as good as the people that are behind it, Sean. So we have an absolutely amazing, fanatical, success and training team that works with our clients to really, make sure that we are helping them use every part and piece of our technology and really getting the most out of it.
Yeah, I love that. So I was watching a video earlier of Prem, and Prem's the founder of the Elm Street. Is that correct?
He is. Yeah, he is.
And what I loved about his perspective on what Elm Street is trying to solve is to bring all of the services into one, right? So your CRM, your marketing, your web page, your IDX interface, all these pieces into one under one login, right? So you're not having to log into multiple things. You're not having to get billed 15 different times each month. I know, like for me, if I go into my credit card statement, it makes me sick to my stomach because I have stuff I've signed up for I haven't even logged into in a year.
Well, right. And you know what, Sean, one thing that we see too, and I think I've mentioned this in the past, like agents are using anywhere from 10 to 12 pieces of technology every day, brokerages even more, 15, 18, upwards to 20. And, the fact that there's no transparency, there's no sharing of data. A lot of times there's overlap. So we'll do like a gap analysis with a brokerage, and we'll be like, well, why are you investing in this tool when you're also investing in this tool that does the same thing? And what we'll find is the broker was sold, well, he's using this one tool because he's using this one little piece of it. And then he's using this other tool for something completely different over here. And that kind of goes into that, oh my God, you're spending, money that you don't need to spend. You're frustrated because you don't even know where your logins are for all of these different tools that you're using. Right. And so Prem's vision with founding Elm Street was really, he started by saying, it was the easy button, right? If we have one centralized set of data, if we have one core piece of technology that sits on top of that data and can push and pull that data into email, text, social, websites, every single piece of communication that an agent has, and really help that agent manage and inform and communicate a lead, from the second that it's captured through that transaction, and then and onto the relationship management on the backside. That's truly the vision of what we're trying to solve for in Elm Street. And I think there's a lot of tech companies that are in the space that have certainly tried to solve in that way. Previously, I don't think anybody's been truly successful. And I think Elm Street is really, we're really on to something. And the nice thing for us is we don't have a huge legacy platform that we have to try to develop on top of,
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking about the other, because about once a month I get a call from somebody who says, hey, what's the best CRM, right? And really there isn't one, because it really depends on what you want it to do.
Exactly. There's a lot of great technology that is out there, and my thing is like, if I'm working with a broker, and I'm doing a needs analysis with them, I'm there to try to help them streamline and consolidate the tech stack that they have, but also find out where those challenges, needs, and gaps are for them that we can potentially help bring together and make those connections for them. But everybody has different needs and challenges, or different ways, I'd like to say strengths and weaknesses, and so we really try to figure out what is the best technology to help, offset those weaknesses and complement your strengths, and really help you streamline and automate, those day-to-day processes. And it's a little bit of a different story for everybody, quite honestly.
Yeah, I think I love this because, people look at real estate agents and they think that there's, a lot of people from outward looking in think that there's one way to do the business. And there's so many ways. Like you and I've been in this industry for a very long time, and there's so many ways for an individual agent, a team, or a brokerage to build their brand or build their lead generation or their marketing, right? Because you can do, you could do the old school branding and marketing, where you're, buying billboards and park benches. You can do direct to consumer marketing. You can do prospecting. You can do branding and luxury branding and those types of things to attract people in. So there's so many different ways. And so a CRM system really, or any technology for that matter, has to customize to that way. And that's the challenge, right? Because internet leads are very different than a neighborhood farm. Right. It's a completely different follow-up plan, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree.
Exactly. And Sean, it's kind of interesting because I live in Los Angeles and I bought a house at the end of 2021 out in LA, and the market, it's just, we all know that the market is upside down and this low inventory. And, it took us 10 months from the time that we had our finance packages ready, that we started working with our real estate professional. It took us 10 months before we were able to find the ideal house and actually win a very, very competitive bid. And, this real estate professional was a personal friend of ours. And so he was somebody who was really there to stand beside us. And we really had a lot of trust and respect with him and his expertise. But as I was going through this really tough process, we lost 5 bids on houses. It was the 6th house that we competed for that we finally won. And I'm so glad the other 5 fell through, by the way. But as we were going through that process, I kept
says everyone who lost.
No, but at the time it seemed so devastating. And then honestly, like the house that we ended up buying was like far superior to anything else that I had bid and competed on, and I was like, oh, thank God. but as we were going through all of that struggle, I kept thinking, God, what if I was just one of those leads, that had raised my hand, and I'm working with a real estate agent that I don't know, that I don't have all of the trust and rapport that I do with, my personal agent. And I'm trying to navigate this tough market. I'm losing out on bids. I'm getting, I've got all cash offers coming, and just beating me out. And like, how can a real estate agent earn the trust and respect and that they need to have to be able to help somebody like me navigate a 10-month long brutal process? And so you're right, it's like the way that our agent works with us is very different than the way that he works with the leads that he acquires. He actually does lead gen through our Elevate system. And we have to have different workflows, different types of communication, and different frequencies of communication for the different types of leads that we're working with. And a good CRM like Elevate, is going to have those intelligent workflows that then you can go in and customize. Yeah.
I love it. It's such an intriguing challenge. And I think the cool thing about this industry and the challenge is what makes the opportunity inside the industry. So like, if you're listening to this and you're a newer agent, all these things we talk about, it might sound overwhelming, but that's what creates the opportunity for you to be successful. Like, like the top agent in our market, right, wasn't even around 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, right.
So like, and then the person who was number one 10 years ago isn't today. So, and it's because of the changing technology and the adaptation to the marketing and the systems and the way that you lead generate and how you're going to present yourself to your customer is what creates the opportunity. So I don't want to share these things and discourage people. Like, this is actually pretty cool because something like an Elm Street technology that allows you to, manage these things so much easier, right? Because again, the cost of managing 5 systems, you have more than 5 systems built into Elm Street, but with just the 5 basic ones, like a marketing suite, a CRM, IDX capability with website, you're buying those from different vendors and then you're trying to pull them together into one and make them work.
Right.
Good luck.
Well, and I think it can be intimidating, and CRM is one of those sort of scary words, right? Because, oh my God, it's software, it's technology. And yes, there's always a little bit of a learning curve. And even as intuitive as we, make our Elevate CRM, there's always a little bit of a learning curve, like, how do we want to set up, where are we capturing your leads from? What are those conversations going to look like for you? Where are we automating those conversations? And then where are we creating trigger points, to prompt you to take personal action? And so an agent or a broker, you have to invest a little bit of time working through all of that. But once you have that in place, then it's just running in the background 24/7 for you. Yeah. Right. And Sean, like we said, what does that mean to an agent if we can streamline some of their day-to-day and give them that extra hour or 2 hours a day? And that is always really where we try to approach, every client we work with. How can we simplify your day-to-day? How can we automate these manual pieces and create more meaningful time for you as a person and as a professional?
Yeah. People talk about CRMs, and CRM is contact relationship management, which is a totally inaccurate way. I like to say contact reminder management system, right? It's, hey, remember this person? Like, time to call them.
Exactly. And as your pipeline, it increases, and as your sphere increases, which you always want as a real estate professional, right? It's harder and harder to, manually manage, okay, who was I supposed to follow up to today? And who am I supposed to reach out to? And the next thing, you've got all these leads, that you've invested in that are just languishing. And then you're upset because you're saying, my leads are crap. And I'm like, no, your leads aren't crap, but your management and follow up of those leads is crap. So let's see if we can fix that.
It's not the lead's fault. Like, they're just a lead, right? They're just raising their hand or, they checking out an open house. It's not their fault. right?
Yeah. And, and there's a lot of people that are kicking the tires out there, right? Technology makes it so easy to kick the tires. And going back to my example, I spent a year probably looking at houses in the LA market before I reached out to my friend and said, okay, you know what? We've got our financing in place. We're really ready now to start actively pursuing this. Because, we were going through COVID, life was crazy. And so we spent that whole, 2020 COVID lockdown year, just sort of browsing and figuring out what we wanted and working on our finance package. And, so there's a lot of people that might raise their hand earlier than anticipated. So how do you, as a real estate professional, understand where that person is in that buyer seller continuum, and what is the appropriate way, to reach out and engage with them and keep them engaged without being overwhelming? And, that's something that technology is going to help you solve.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier the business of how it goes up and down, right? It cycles. And, an agent gets a couple leads, they work the leads, they get them under contract. Now, while they're working the leads and they're under contract, they're not focusing on their lead generation or their lead management. And then the deals close and then their pipeline is empty, right? And I call that porpoising, right? Like a dolphin jumping out of the water and jumping in, right? And so your business goes up and down. And that's the most stressful real estate business you can have. Like, that is extremely stressful. Even if you're successful, if you have a month or two where you're not having consistent income, because what happens is then all of a sudden you have a big chunk of money come in and you're making up for the bills that you had. And now you don't have the ability to spend the money into the future, right? And so we're always having to kind of, market to where we want to go, right?
Right.
Forget about that. Like, you got to market to where you want to go, not where you were. And so consistency, right? Consistency is more important than ideas. A lot of real estate agents have a lot of great ideas, and they have ideas, but they're inconsistent with them. So they'll do something and they'll get a great result. They'll get a lead, they'll get a closing, whatever, but they don't do it again, right?
Exactly.
And technology, like you said, operates in your sleep.
Right. So you need that foundation in place, right? And I think a good CRM, intelligent marketing, ongoing, constant lead generation, investment in lead generation, and then a CRM that will market and communicate and keep you connected with all of your leads and opportunities. That's the foundation of what you need to operate on. And I see so many agents, living paycheck to paycheck, or like I'm working with brokerages, and we'll talk about, okay, well, what's the exit strategy? How are you going to create a legacy within this organization? And what does that look like? And the idea of, investing and building something towards the future can be so challenging when people are living paycheck to paycheck. And so we really try to look at, what do you need? I have an exercise, and you mentioned, you have your book where you have these spreadsheets. I'll do business planning with brokerages and agents. And we literally look at, your business and your personal finances, and what do you need, to literally keep the lights on every single month, right? And then, what do we need to actually put you in a place where you can actually invest that money aside, so that you're not, starving at those times that those commission checks aren't coming through, right? And that's an exercise that we do. And that really helps us to determine, what number of transactions do you need to be doing? What does that look like for you, right? Let's do some math. And math is another one of those scary words, Sean.
the M word.
But it's one of those 4-letter words that's a necessary evil when you're running your own business. And, so that's part of the fun of the job, is just really trying to help people understand, you're running a business, and you might have gone into real estate because you love people, or you love houses, or you watch too many HGTV shows. I don't know. But you, at the end of the day, you are running a business, and you have to look at spreadsheets, and you have to leverage technology, and you have to invest in the tools and resources that are going to help you, not just survive, but thrive.
Yeah. Going back to your comment about the number of real estate licensees in the world, or in the United States, not in the world, but in the United States, I think it's like 2.6 million licensees. And then we had 6.8 million transactions. So it's like just right around 2.2 to 2.5 transactions per licensee in the United States right now.
Yeah. Now we do know that, right? 20% of the licensed agents do 80% of the work.
Yeah.
But even if you take out that 80%, the math still just, it's tough, Sean.
It's tough. And that number's down, right? It's down from, I think about 10 years ago, it was about 5, right? Mm-hmm. 5 transactions per agent. So if you're listening to this and you're saying, hey, I want to go from 5 to 10 or 10 to 20 transactions a year, or family served is what I like to say, family served, because we're helping people. Real estate's about people, not houses.
Well, Sean, let me interrupt you right there because you mentioned Prem Luthra, our founder and CEO. He actually, his quote is that we, Elm Street, we are not a technology company. We are a company that is in the business of helping fulfill the American dream.
Oh, yeah.
And I like that. And that goes back to that fundamental, how do we really just fundamentally help people live better lives, professionally and personally. And I think that's a really, really powerful viewpoint to take.
Yeah. Well said. I think we can end it right there, Bondilyn.
I know. I'm like, wait, that's my conclusion statement, I think.
Drop the mic.
Mic drop. I'm out. Thanks, Sean. Bye.
If they have some more questions, how do they get in touch?
They can come to elmstreet.com.
Mm-hmm.
We use a cool little piece of technology called the chat bot.
Yeah.
And you can actually, that little chat bot will pop up and say hi to you. And you can actually start having a conversation with a member of our success team and let them know, what you're looking for. They'll usually do about a 15-minute introductory call with you where they'll just be like, hey, let's look at what you're using, where your needs and challenges are. Let's start a conversation. And it's just there's, no strings attached. There's no reason to not reach out and connect with our team. And if we can help you, we will. If we can't, we can refer you probably to somebody who can. So, leverage our brains. We've got a lot of them at our Elm Street.
I hear that. Thank you all. I appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Bye.